Heart Nation. Hey, it is your host, Carla J. from Carla's channel, Heart to Heart Inspiration Podcast. And I am so excited today. We have a wonderful guest, and you're going to enjoy him. We're going to be taking live questions for Ken. Put him on the hot seat. Ask him all of your burning questions. He is an award winning director, writer, and producer. And there's a new term, multi hyphen. He's a multi hyphen person in the industry, and you're going to just enjoy it. So, with no further ado, but yes, with further ado, go ahead and like and subscribe to the channel if you're on YouTube, Instagram, or Facebook. And also, if you would like to be a guest, just send me a DM and we can talk about it. I love finding more awesome guests to share their awesome journeys with the world. Yay. All right. So we have Mr. Ken Gregory. Applause. Yay. And Ken, I know that you and I are no stranger to one another. But first, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for coming on the show again.
Oh, no, thank you for having me back again. I appreciate it, believe me.
I love it. So I'll tell the audience a little bit how we met. So we first met during the Detroit Filmmaker Awards, gearing up for all of the awards that happened April 27th, I believe was the date. Yep. And it was in Detroit. Yep. And I had the pleasure of being the official podcast host for the awards. And that is run by Darren Brown and his company, his crew over there in Detroit. And I got to sit down with you, and you had at that time Huey, your short films. Yep. Being nominated was Huey, Write This, yep. And one more. There was one
just
more.
Those two.
Just those two. But yep. You had like a combined 17 nominations.
Yeah. We won four, yeah. I'll take it.
Yes, you won 4. You like swept that category. So kudos to you for that. And that's why you are award winning. So you won at the Detroit Filmmaker Awards, but where else have you been nominated? Were you nominated for Huey and Write This? And what other awards did you actually win for those movies?
I actually, and it's a good thing you brought that up, I actually won last year at the Detroit Trinity International Film Festival for Huey as an audience favorite, which is good. As a matter of fact, I will actually be there this year for both my new films, Becoming Sidney, which is the origin story about Sidney Poitier, and VMP, because, you know, I like to do a drama and a comedy and then put them together. And they're both short films. But yeah, those films just got accepted into the Detroit Trinity International Film Festival, put on by the Favors. And so I'll be there. It's going on July 19th and 20th. So I'll be there next month to actually attend the festival. And I've actually been submitting to that festival for a few years. So I did the math the other day. I started in 2021, and they have actually taken at least one film every year since 2021. So I've had a really good relationship with them. Yeah. So, but yeah, Huey won the audience favorite. We actually got into the Martha's Vineyard African American Film Festival, which is an Oscar qualifying film festival. That was great. In addition to that, just recently, Huey was screened at 2 festivals, one in Davenport, Iowa, at the Pulling Focus African American Film Festival, as well as the Ann Arbor Black Film Festival right there in Ann Arbor. So Ann Arbor, Michigan. So yeah, it's winding down its film festival run, and I'm thinking about actually releasing it on my YouTube page around the fall, because I think we'll be done with the final festival around the fall. So it'll be released within the next couple months, but I'm gonna say actually the end of summer.
Okay. Now, for those who are not familiar with the importance of film festivals, break that down for us.
Yeah, the film festivals are really, they're a great marketing tool. It's going to help you get into film festivals. It's going to help you get your films in front of different audiences, in the eyes of different audiences. Yes, it does help to win awards at the film festivals, but more importantly, it's just so that you can make your mark in this vast industry and get people to really start to take notice of some of your films. Film festivals work great for me. There are others, and you've interviewed quite a few filmmakers on your channel. They like to go straight, what we call straight to streaming. They bypass the film festival. They go straight to Tubi. They have their select audience there. I like the way the film festival feeds my spirit, as far as if I'm on the right track, if they're enjoying it, because you're getting real-time feedback. Even after the film has actually been cut and everything else, people are standing right there in front of you and will tell you if your film is good or if it's not good. So,
okay.
Yeah, but I always say it's a great marketing tool as far as if you're trying to build a catalog for yourself of films, just getting it in different eyes, but also getting it around the country and internationally. My film, Becoming Sidney, just screened this weekend in Jamaica, Kingston, Jamaica. My lead actor, Jaden Shamir, his parents are Jamaican born. He was born here in the U.S. in Baltimore. He went and attended the festival. So that was a great opportunity for him, not only to go back, go back to the homeland, the motherland, but also to show family members over there what he's doing out here in L.A.
I know they're so proud of him, and to be in Jamaica. Didn't one of your other films, was it in France?
No. Oh, yes, it was. Oh my God, I completely forgot. Diversity. Thank you. See, you did your homework. I forgot. And the sad part is that that was only a month ago. Yeah, that was a month ago. It was during Cannes. It was in Cannes, France, during Cannes. It was the Diversity in Cannes African American showcase. And so they're going to be doing an online version starting, I believe she said, the 13th. So Huey and Write This are actually going to be screened online through their film festival, the Diversity in Cannes. So yeah, it did. It got into Cannes, you're right, which is a big deal. I can't believe I forgot that. But as a filmmaker that puts out as much content as I do, a lot of times, and I'm guilty of this, and a lot of other filmmakers may be able to relate to this, I am always focused on the next project. Once a project is done and I can sit back and I've got it in its pipeline, I hate to say it, I kind of forget about it, and then because I'm off to the next one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so I got 1,000 questions for you, okay, Ken. Just so many.
We got time.
But before we break off into all of that, I just want to give a shout out to Heart Nation out there. They're putting in the comments. We got Heart Nation hearts. We got someone said awesome to you on your accomplishments. Checking in from Vegas. We got someone checking in from Vegas and someone checking in from the south side of Chicago. All right. So if you're out there watching, feel free to put where you're calling from in the chat or any questions or compliments that you have for Ken. So Ken, thank you for, we talked about how we met, and we're just like family now. We're just family now.
We are.
And I love it. I love it. And tell us a little bit of your background, how you got involved in filmmaking, this filmmaking journey that you're on.
Oh, wow. So I'm originally from Detroit. Okay. Luckily, I've been able to travel the country. One of the places that I ended up was Atlanta, Georgia, which is a big market, especially for African-American creatives. I was there in 1997, and I actually stayed there for 9 years until 2006. What had happened was I was trying to make it in New York. I lasted a year and a half in New York, and that was my second try. A year and a half in New York. I didn't want to go home. My sister was living in Atlanta at the time because she was in college, and she kept giving all these rave reviews about Atlanta. So I said, well, let me go down and see what it's about. I packed up my things thinking like, I'm just going to go here, and then wherever I'm supposed to go after that, I'll decide. I was only going to stay a week. I got down there, and after 3 days, I was like, this is home. Got an apartment within 3 days, all of that. And what ended up happening was I finally got a great job at the phone company. This is when we had landlines at Bell South.
Okay.
And I had been there, I was going on my 6th year, headed into my 6th year, and they were doing downsizing because what ends up happening is cell phones started blowing up and people didn't need landline phones anymore.
Okay.
So they phased me out, but part of my contract under the union, CWA 3204, shout out to them, I was able to get what's called like a re-education kind of grant. That was what the company would pay to whatever I wanted to do. And so at the time, I was actually writing and self-publishing fiction novels. I had done three of them. And what ended up happening is I signed up for a class at Georgia State University. And at Georgia State University, the class was called Creative Writing. I said, hey, I just want to make sure I'm on the right track. I'm just starting this. I just want to see what it's all about. I walk into the class, shout out to Dr. Shirlene Holmes.
All right.
Dr. Shirlene Holmes was teaching that class. And it was, you got to figure, this was in 2003. Yeah, 2003. And in that time, I come to find out this is not a creative writing class for writing books. It's a creative writing class for scripts.
Wow.
And I knew I was supposed to be there. And so what ended up happening was she shared all these other resources that were available to me. One was called the Digital Aquarium. And it was an actual lab where filmmakers learn how to shoot films. They give you the cameras for free if you're a student, which I was at the time. And so I actually shot a documentary that I didn't know what was going to happen, but it got accepted into a big festival in DC. They flew me out, put me up in this great hotel, and screened my film, and I got great. And that's the beginning of, I like this feeling. I like this interaction because you're interacting with fans. And so that was actually the beginning of what I'm doing right now. Started in Atlanta at the Digital Aquarium. And just to give you insight, the founders of the Michaud Film Festival here in LA, they were actually going to school at the same time. The co-founder, Noel, I actually met him at the Digital Aquarium. Courtney was there, but I hadn't quite seen her, but I remember Noel. And so we've been able to connect. And they also, similar to the Detroit Trinity International Film Festival, they've been taking my films at the Michaud Film Festival. So I've had a really great LA run with my films here at the Michaud Festival. But that was through that connection, what my pastor used to call divine intersection, divine intervention, that appointed time. That was how that happened.
Wow, look at that. So what they say, when one door closes, another one opens.
Yeah, because I didn't know what I was going to do. I was without a job. Yeah.
You were working for Ma Bell, what they call it, Ma Bell?
That's what they call it, Ma Bell. They were that big, yep.
Ma Bell, you were getting downsized and like, what am I going to do now? And you got this opportunity to go to school for whatever you wanted to go for.
Yeah.
And look at God. Look at God. All right now. I love that, Ken.
Yeah. I love it too. Trust me.
So that started you on this journey, your film journey, just by happenstance. I like that. But nothing's ever really coincidence, right? Everything is a plan in motion. So that started that. And so you were in the awards. Your film was in the awards. That's like beginner's luck, some may say, or some may say favor, know.
Yep, I'll take that one. I'll take that one over beginner's luck.
Yes, favor. Favor ain't fair all the time. And so you said you were born in Detroit. Yep. And so that's interesting because you were born in Detroit and got the free equipment. Someone said you got the free equipment also. That was a big thing, the camera.
Yeah. And here's the thing, and filmmakers will notice, this was at a time when films were shot on mini DV tapes.
Wow.
Digital mini DV. And these were like, we had the VHS. These mini DVs were like this big, and you could get a stack of them for like $30. But that was how I first started. So now we're at that whole digital where you just pop in a card and you're good to go. But yeah, I started back, and they gave us the camera for free. All we had to do was buy our own tapes.
Wow, look at that. That's something. So that came from the chat. And then we also got someone checking in from Kenosha. All right. Hey, Kenosha. Thank you all for joining.
I live in Kenosha, Wisconsin. I used to live in Racine before I moved to LA. So Racine and Kenosha are right next door to each other.
All right, all right.
Well traveled, trust me.
I like that. You did say you've traveled the world. You've had a chance to travel the world. And so let's break it all down. Let's get into it.
Yeah.
So you started off doing that, and what happened after that? What was your journey after you got into the film festival?
Mm-hmm.
You know.
So, and not to back it up, but stopping where, starting where you just ended up talking about, I traveled the world, traveled the country. I ended up after I left Ma Bell, came home because my mom was actually at the time struggling with, she was going through breast cancer. She's a survivor, thank God. But in that time, because I didn't have a job, I went and got my CDL Class A. So I drive 18 wheelers, and I've been doing that since 2008.
Wow.
So I was unemployed for about 2 years because I left Atlanta in 2006. So for 2 years, I was trying to just be a full-time filmmaker, but realized you got to pay for this. Someone's got to pay for this. And that's what the trucking did. And that's why I was able to travel all the way throughout the country.
Okay.
Yeah. So once that happened, once I was able to do that, and the trucking pays me more than what I would with my degrees, because I have a bachelor's degree from Wayne State and a master's degree from Central Michigan University.
Wow.
My CDL pays more. And so that's how I'm able to pay for my films.
Okay.
Yep. So my first film, when I moved here to LA in 2018, I connected with a small studio called Jig Reel Studios. And I actually do some directing there as well. But I connected with them. They had what's called a short film package. And what they do is they do everything in-house. It's what we call sound stages, similar to what the Favors have back in Detroit. You have a couple of sound stages there where you have sets. They call them sets. Here we call them sound stages. They're already sets with furniture and everything.
Okay.
All you have to do is write the script. Well, they actually would hire writers for you. So for about $6,000-7,000, I was able to create short films. And so that's how I actually started once I got to LA, because that was the most affordable way to do it. I was in acting class, so I was able to hire my friends. My first film, All I Have, got into the Detroit Trinity International Film Festival, did pretty good, but I was starting to learn my way as far as to what they're looking for. That's always key as a filmmaker, to know which festivals are suited for your particular project, and they give their information. It also comes into the production value, all of that good stuff, but you learn that along the way. But that was actually how I actually started after I experienced what I experienced in 2003. 2003 or 2004. That's what I experienced at that DC festival with my documentary. When I knew, I said, okay, I like film festivals. This is what I need to do. And that's how I started. 2018, it started full steam.
Wow. You did. It seems like, can you still hear me? It seems like every time, it really does seem like you have the golden touch, because you really were getting a lot of accolades early. You really were.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, because the business is so vast. You got to understand, that first film, I didn't write. I hired a writer.
Okay.
And I think I told you this before in a previous interview. All of last year, 2024, I just spent the entire year learning how to write scripts. Shout out to the Professional Pen, Shannon E. Johnson. She's the CEO of that. My coaches were Matam, Pages Matam, and Carlton Lee. Those brothers showed me how to write. So I wrote Huey, which I was shocked. And all I did was just take a little bit of Dr. Huey P. Newton's story, translate it into a 15-page script. And that was how I first started. Sidney, I wrote Sidney. That was just 7 pages, 7 pages. But yeah, it's a vast industry. And so you have to learn as you go and build your team. Because that was one of the things I did here in LA. So by the time I shot Huey, I had my own DP that I met at Jig Reel, thank God, and everybody else along the way. So you build it. Networking is key. It is key. Yeah.
Don't want to burn any bridges along the way.
Everybody thinks that the industry is big. It's not that big. And if you're Black, it's even smaller.
Okay. So that's good to know.
Yeah.
for our aspiring people out there. Just giving another shout out. Hey, lady, checking in from Richmond Park, Illinois. All right. Hey, how are you? So good to see you. Thanks for joining. So, Ken, I like how you said that you have to learn these things along the way. And that was like 10 years. That's over 10 years
Yeah.
that you are still learning. Now, I didn't know people hire writers. What break that down a little bit for us? Hiring a writer.
Hiring a writer is where, and what it is, they're going to take that writing credit. So what, let's just say you have a story in mind. You want to tell a certain episode that happened in your life that you want to have somebody, hire somebody to write a short story or a short script about it. So what will happen is you'll reach out to a writer, and writers do get paid. They'll say, you'll decide, yeah, I think this particular writer will understand me, write in my language. 9 times out of 10, we always find writers that look like us.
Okay.
So they're going to understand. So let's just say you hire a particular writer. We'll just call her Jane Doe. So Jane Doe will sit with you and say, hey, tell me a little bit about your story. Where are you looking to go with this? 9 times out of 10, all they want to know is a beginning and an end. They can figure out the middle by you filling in some of the blanks. And in that meeting, what they call that consultation that you'll have with them, they'll actually have enough to write for you. And so, yeah. And what will happen is you'll pay them. They'll send you the script. They'll ask for their credit, for writing. You'll also pay them. And then you'll take that script and either you'll go produce it yourself to make it, or you'll try to sell it to someone else, maybe even a studio or something, because you might have better connection than that writer, but you just know that this writer is good and wrote a story and you don't have any money. So, hey, I'm going to go out and try to shop it, what they call shop it around.
Okay.
To see if you can get a buyer that's going to not only buy the script, but produce the script,
Wow.
And that's really the crux of when you hire a writer, what a writer does. They take the information that you give them, they ask you about certain people in your life, and then they'll just break everything down for you.
Wow. That's awesome. Never knew that was a thing. But you made me think of something. So when you have the career of a writer, now with AI, and AI can write these stories in a matter of seconds, what is that doing for writers? Have you considered AI, or have you used AI, or what is that like?
One of the things, and this was my screenwriting coach, Shannon E. Johnson, she tested it out, ChatGPT, the free one.
Mm-hmm.
I went and tested it out myself. It's good, and it's gotten better. However, you can still tell from reading it that it's missing something. Missing what we call a soul, missing something like, so even most of your great writers, ChatGPT will cut your time in half. It really will. It probably will cut it by 75%, whereas they've done all the work for you. But you still have to go in and flush that script out.
Okay.
So it's not going to give, it's going to give you just enough information that you're still going to have to go back in and write it. But you got to understand, most people struggle just getting started.
Okay.
So ChatGPT takes that away, because now you don't have to struggle. Just like similar to a consultation that I would have with you as a writer, I'm going to have it with ChatGPT. I'm just going to type in my prompts. Hey, I want to tell a story about a middle-aged man who's isolated. His mother is dying. She dies, and he has a problem with his sister and family drama, this and that and the other. And it will give you an entire outline, which is where you should really start. An entire outline of that story, giving your characters, your inciting incident, your resolution, your beats, all of that. Well, and ChatGPT will break it down. But as a writer, as someone that's even using ChatGPT, you're still going to have to go in there and tweak it. Even when you hire a writer for the first time, she'll give you a first draft, but you might say, can we add this element? Because something will come to you and you think like, she's on the right track, but can we add this? And they can go in and adjust it.
Okay. Well, that's good insight.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. One of our comments in the chat says, he's right. The AI have no feelings. So what is no soul? AI has no soul.
No, it doesn't. It's going to spit it out like it's nothing.
Okay. That's good to know. Because ChatGPT AI is so popular these days. Yes. So that's really something. So Excuse me. So I want to just kind of go through a little speed round with you, and it's going to help us to get to know you a little bit more, and we can
Okay.
ask some more questions off of that.
Okay.
And then I
Okay.
also want to play the trailer to Becoming Sydney, but we got to break that down some more, Ken. I got some
Okay.
more questions about Becoming Sydney. So,
Okay.
but here we go. Um, the first role you ever played, what was that?
Oh, it was in my. Oh, I played a cop. As soon as I got off, as soon as I got to LA, I was able to play a cop. It was in a student film, and next thing you know, 2 or 3 roles later, we're still a cop.
Okay.
Mhm.
I like that. Did you have a lot of speaking parts as the cop?
It was a supporting role, so it may have been one or two lines.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So then let's see. Um, what's the favorite line you ever wrote or delivered?
Ooh, that was going to have to be in Huey, where I basically say, I've had my time leading it. It's time for this next generation to make their way. When Dr. Newton was saying that he's had his time leading the Black Panther Party, but this next movement has to be the next generation.
Yes, and I remember that. I remember that. That was a powerful scene there.
Mhm.
Yes, it was. Okay. Who was an actor or writer who changed the game for you?
Lawrence Fishburne.
Oh, okay.
To
Why
this
is that?
day, watching him on Boys in the Hood play Trey's dad, yes,
All right.
most victory.
Lawrence Fishburne, Boys in the Hood. Who all out there know what that is? Hey, Joshua. He said, keep up the good
Even
work.
and I
All
always say
right.
this, even about Lawrence Fishburne, anybody that can go from playing Ike Turner, the most hated man in America, and then turn around and do Morpheus in the Matrix franchise and become beloved and loved by more people, that's a great actor.
Yes. Yes. He's so talented.
Oh,
Um, I love that. Okay. First time you saw yourself on screen, what was that like?
mind blowing, mind blowing. And now there's a difference between I saw myself on the big screen first in a film that I did, but when I saw myself on a small screen on Amazon Prime in a film that I had done with someone else, that was huge. That was huge.
Okay. I love that. Let's see. What's always in your writer's bag?
Ooh, being open, being willing to rewrite. So that's the first thing. I don't marry myself to a script right away. They're
Okay.
always open to revisions. So that's always in my writer's bag, always, no matter what. Especially when you start to do a table read.
Okay. Oh, a table read. Actually,
Yep.
one of my questions are, what are some terms that aspiring actors or filmmakers should know? And let's start with table read.
Yeah,
What is
table
that?
read is that's when you write your script and you need to hear it on its feet. And on top of that, it's a great way for you to be open minded to changing certain dialogue because the biggest mistake that writers make is they will write in a singular voice.
Mm,
I can tell just from watching somebody's work that this person wrote this entire script and it was all in one voice. Great writers can write scripts and everybody's voice is distinct. And you can tell that through the characteristics. 9 times out of 10, what I do, even when I get on set, is I'll tell my actors, say it the way you know what the line is, but say it the way that you would say it, just so that I make sure that they've embraced the character and it's in a different voice.
mm. And a table read, is that with everyone at the table? Thus, it's called a table read.
Table, yep, at the table, going around. I've changed my script after a table read. It's usually 1 or 2 lines, but for the most part, yeah, you're hearing your words that you've written on its feet. What they call now you're hearing it on its feet, and that's the time also to get feedback from your actors. They may not understand something that you wrote, and you need to explain it. But once you explain it, they might say, "Well, why didn't you just say this?" Guess what? We're changing it so now that it says that.
Okay, I love that. I love that. That's a lot of collaboration. So I love
Yes.
that. Another term that I've heard often is a DP. What is
Yes.
that?
Okay. DP is the director of photography. Understand that there's a difference between a DP and a cinematographer. A-
Wow.
they have the same job as far as they will shoot your film. They will capture your film onto that camera. The difference is your DP, your director of photography, his job is much more involved than a cinematographer. He's the one that will help you as a director determine which shots work. He's the one that will tell you, let's come up this way. He's the one that will tell you this will bring more life to this particular scene. So what a DP does is a DP goes through your script, reads your script, interprets your script so that when you do your shot list, you know exactly what's going to be done. In addition to that, if he has to take a break and we bring in what they call a first camera assist or a cinematographer, they already know what needs to be done because your DP has basically gone with you as your director to spell out your shot list.
Wow.
So
That sounds...
a lot of people have to be careful. I will always hire a DP. I will rarely hire a cinematographer.
Wow.
And your DP will have its own, he will have his own reel. You'll be able to see exactly how creative he is. Most of your DPs also do still photography. That's a great way to see exactly how they do it. But I've had experiences with cinematographers, and we'll leave it at that.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good. I love that. That's good information. I wanted this episode to be, informative for those aspiring filmmakers or going through the film journey, whether an actor or behind the camera, something like that. So that was good. And also, okay, so now that we've kind of gotten more about you, what you started, you talked about LA and you played a cop, but I think you also posted something on your Facebook where you were in, was it Law and Order?
Law and Order SVU.
We got some Law and Order fans out there.
Uh-huh. I was in this season that just expired. What is it? Season 26, episode 13 is titled Extinction. That was the role of a lifetime. It really was. It was always Law and Order has always been my favorite show, the original. My sister, God rest her soul, she passed away, but she loved SVU. She loves SVU. But that audition came to me. Once I saw that it was Law and Order, I was hooked. I embodied that character. I got my dialect coach to assist me. I took my notes so that I could sound like someone from Washington Heights, sound like someone from New York.
Yeah.
Yep. My acting coach took a look at the final cut and said, "Oh my God, I would honestly not know that you were from Detroit. I would think that you were from Washington Heights." It was great to meet Ice-T and work with him. Great to meet I can't remember his name, but he played Octavia on the show. My scene, it was nice, and the check was great too.
All right, the check. All right. I love that. And meeting Ice-T, I know that had to be a good time. So you're out there in Hollywood right now, and you did Huey. Now, walk us through. I want to talk about Huey and
Sidney.
I was just looking at some of the comments. You got some good comments in there. Law and Order groupies. They said they love Law and Order. Someone asked, how many seasons were you in?
Right now, because it was a co-star role, just the one season, the one episode. But stay tuned. There's more coming. I actually just did, and luckily I didn't have to sign an NDA for it. I just did a audition this morning. That's why when you called me, I was like, I'm on my way. I'm good. I just did an audition for Ryan Murphy. So we shall see how that goes. But yeah, just the one episode, but I definitely plan on being back.
All right. That's awesome. Yay. That was a great question. So you're in LA. Now, when you wrote Huey, and I hear a lot of things from interviewing people like yourself, creatives like yourself. Some of them say they're able to write it like that and they produce it and they film it, and it 7 days tops they may take to film it or shoot it or wrap it up. What about you? What was that like with Huey?
Huey was easy. We had easy in the fact that as far as I plan, and this is another great term, pre-production. It's crucial for your production. Pre-production is where you've planned everything out, what you're going to do for the day. You've planned it out with your DP, your line producer, all of those people. You're going to plan it out. That way, when you start shooting, which is production, it should go smoothest, which mine did. It had a few knocks in it, but it wasn't because of the production. It was because of people. So you just have to be careful of the right people. But we shot it in 4 days. We did a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. 2 of those days were inside of a sound stage, like I said, where they build the sets.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other 2 days were at a house that we rented. Oh, no, one day was at a house, and the last one was outside. But we did it in 4 days. The longest day was the last day. I think we had spent 14 hours on set. The other day,
Wow.
the other days, the other 3 days, 8 hours, and we were out.
Okay.
As a director, I am extremely efficient. I am not going to ask for 100 takes. If we've done a table read, I've given you all the notes. I expect you as an actor to deliver. And luckily for me, all of my actors delivered beautifully. So
Wow.
we were done in it. We had an 8-hour day for 3 days. But the last day, I let everybody know in advance, hey, it's going to be a long day. It's an overnight shoot. We started at 1 o'clock. We didn't get done till 4 a.m. That's 1 o'clock in the afternoon. We didn't get done till 4 a.m. But my saving grace was the cast and crew were ready because they said, listen, you let us get off 3 days early. I'm with you, brother. Let's go.
I love that. Now, you talked about finances, like being a truck driver has allowed you to be able to help fund your films. Just give a ballpark range for us about how much did it cost Huey, like a ballpark figure?
Okay. We started out with a $20,000 budget. We ended at close to 40. We were probably, I'm going to say we were 14K over budget.
Wow.
Yeah. And you learn. This is my first one. You learn as you go. For me, that 34,000 came from 20K came from an American Express personal loan that I took out that I'll actually be paid for in October.
All right.
Huey, we shot in 2024. I just did the anniversary on it. We just had celebrated on Sunday. It was the second anniversary of the day we started shooting Huey. So I took out a 20K loan for that. I had saved up probably about 8, and then the rest I had to borrow. I didn't cash out. I borrowed, took out another personal loan against my 401k.
Okay.
And that's how I was able to come up with the rest of the money. But I took enough. It's so funny. I took enough out of that 401k that I was able to shoot the comedy. So I said, let me take out enough for Finish Huey and enough to start this other project. And that's actually what got me started on doing 2 projects a year.
Okay. Well, that made sense. Thank you for sharing that because I know a lot of people in the audience, are aspiring filmmakers and things like that. And so I'm glad that you shared that. So they'll know, save up your money now. So you know what
But
to
also
do.
pick the right location. LA is expensive to shoot in. It's an expensive place. So that's why it was so expensive. My first feature that I plan on doing, I'm going back home to Detroit. And right now, I think I can do this feature for 25 to 30K.
Okay.
I have a friend of mine who did his feature, but he did all the legwork. And I'm in that film called Cold Monsters. He was able to do that for 16K. And that was here in LA, but he knows a lot more about the business. I usually consult with him. That's what I'm saying. You got to be able to network and know who your people are.
All right. I like that. Find your people. Got some questions in the chat. Do you do interviews for the actors?
I do. And what I do, just as an example, when we did the screening in Jamaica, my lead actor was there. I wasn't there on my behalf, but I had taken him to he's been with me to a couple of film festivals, so he knows how the Q&A works. So I always, and I'm going to tell you where that question comes up. I always give my actors an opportunity to speak their voice in front of the public. Always. A lot of directors and producers don't allow that. And what's even worse is at film festivals, your actors will show up, but the only person that can come to the stage is the director, because that's all the film festival is interested in, is talking to the director. So a lot of times I'll ask the film festival, can I bring my actors with me? They're here. They might as well share their story, sharing the success, because that's what you're doing. You're sharing in the success. So I do, but a lot of actors don't get that opportunity. Every chance I get, I bring my actors to the stage with me. I do not mind sharing the limelight.
All right, because we all going up. I like that. Okay.
Filmmaking is a team sport. The least you could do is take the team with you.
I love that. There's another question. Can you tell us the season and episode so we can view it?
Yep. Season 26, episode 13. Season 26, episode 13. And I believe that, like I said, I think the title of it is Extinction.
All right. And then do you do casting auditions?
No. You know why? Because part of me finding my team also includes me using my actor friends who I've been in class with or that I've met on other projects. And when I write, I normally write in the voices of the people that I know.
Okay.
And I'll tell you what happened. I have had, okay, we got to get a little, but I got to share it. So I had cast someone off of a tape that I had seen. And then when that person got on set, I realized, oh my God, this person is like brand new. And you don't want to be your director's problem. Luckily, and we've talked about it since then, luckily the rest of the actors that were on there came to this person's, help to say, hey, just breathe. It's okay, let it go, because this person could see that the other actors were prepared. They were professional. They knew their lines. They knew what was going on, and it worked beautifully. But yeah, I usually try to cast people that I know, because honestly, this is where you find out here in LA, especially, casting directors really they don't like to do, they do self-tapes because they can see more people, but they like to get you in the room because they need to know, can he act? Because that self-tape, you can always put forth your best foot. Mm-hmm. But then once the camera comes on or you're in front of the director, they got to make sure that you can deliver.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. Thank you for the questions in the chat. Mm-hmm. So, Ken, you and I talked a little bit beforehand, and we talked about Huey, and I believe it was Huey where you said playing that character was so depressing or had a depression element in it. Can you explain that some more?
Mm-hmm. What happened with Huey was my training as an actor teaches me to embody the character. What happens when you embody the character is you embody their trauma. I embodied Dr. Newton's trauma. We're talking about a man who really was doing great, but all of a sudden was both hated and loved in his community. His wife even I did my research, he couldn't get a job even at McDonald's.
Wow.
And he had a PhD.
Really?
Yes.
Dr. Huey. Okay.
Yeah, PhD from the University of California in I can't remember, I don't know why it's escaping me, but I embraced his trauma as well. And people that watch the film, I've actually had this happen. I think I told you this. I've gone to film festivals and we're doing a Q&A, and I had 3 people at the Martha's Vineyard talking about, you're the lead actor. Oh my God, he was so good. And I'm looking at them like, did they really just say that? I'm the lead actor. What are you talking about? Because I disappeared. Wow. Ken disappears and all they see is Huey Newton. So I embodied that. So what ended up happening was I did not, and my acting coach would always gets on his actors about this, please have an out, an emotional out. And what ended up happening was I didn't have a therapist. I've got one now, but I didn't have a therapist at the time. And so what ended up happening was my drug of choice is food. I gained all this weight because I was trying to cope with this trauma that really wasn't mine. But like my acting coach tells me, the body doesn't know that this is make-believe. The body believes that you're going through this, that you don't have a job, that you're trying to provide for your family, and that you're stressed out. And on top of that, he had an addiction to drugs. My addiction was food. I was able to what they call transfer or substitute that, but I kept going to the food as my addiction to feed my depression, to feed my anxiety. I was both depressed and anxious for almost a year.
Wow, that's really something. Never thought about that. It never crossed my mind that people, when I've heard it, embody the character, but I've never really understood, what that really means. I've never had to do it. So very eye-opening. Thank you.
Taraji P. Henson talks about it. She just did Straw. and she did an interview on The Breakfast Club, and she talked about that, how she's able to come out of it.
Mm.
Because everybody's like, it's very, when that person can disappear and all you see is a traumatic person going, that's real acting. That's great acting right
there. Okay. All right. I like that. The audience is loving that. They're like, that's deep. So talking about Becoming Sidney, how was that? Was there a contrast between the two, or what was the emotional ride with that one?
With that one, it was a lot easier because I wasn't in it. I was directing. I wrote, directed, and produced it. I wasn't acting in it, so that was a nice break. How that story came about was the lead actor, Jaden, had actually gone to Tribeca Film Festival in New York. He had a film being screened there, and so he went to support the filmmaker. While he was sitting during a symposium or a Q&A with Lena Waithe. Lena Waithe does this program called, oh my God, something Voices at Tribeca, where they get together African-American filmmakers, about 10 of them, and they do these films. But anyways, she said she wanted to do a biopic on Sammy Davis Jr. So and you understand, Jaden's only 26 years old. So Jaden sends me photos of Sammy Davis Jr. saying, hey, do you think I could portray him? And I told Jaden this story, and I've been telling everybody this story. After I stopped laughing, I said, no, but here's who you can play. And I sent him pictures of Sidney Poitier. And the reason why is anybody that knows, Sammy Davis Jr. was 5'2", 5'3", Jaden 6'2".
Oh,
Sidney,
okay.
Yeah, Sidney Poitier is either 6 feet or 6'1".
Okay.
Yeah, that's how the story birthed. And what's so interesting is I had just finished watching a interview that Mr. Poitier had done in 1985 on Good Morning America, where he told his origin story. So by the time Jaden got off the plane 2 days later, the first draft of the script was done.
Okay.
And
That's
we were
awesome.
here's the thing about Sidney, we still haven't come up on our year anniversary. That's how quick the turnaround was.
Wow.
We shot it in 2 days. We had the script. I think we don't celebrate that anniversary for another 2-3 months. So it hasn't even been a year since we shot it, and it's already out, working its way through the film festivals.
Wow. And two things I want to make. One is funny. You said that Sammy was short and Sidney was tall. And so sometimes when you're watching movies and you see these, they'll have an adult playing someone playing a flashback. And so the adult is brown, but the child is yellow, and it's like, what happened? How does that happen? Is it because you have to pick a certain actor or who could do it better?
Many times it's poor casting. Number one, poor casting. That's why a lot of times it's best to have a casting director if you don't understand casting. Something like you're speaking, especially when we're talking about some of our Tubi films or something like that, where it's just that contrast, they're limited in the actors. They got to choose from a smaller pool. There's a small pool of actors they can choose from. Whereas here in LA, I have actors from Atlanta and Detroit that I know are like, hey, I want to be in a film with you. And but of course I have to tell them, well, unless you're paying your way to get here, it's not going to happen. They're like, no, I hope you would pay my way. And my conversation right after that is I tell them this: I can find 10 of you in a 100-yard radius around me at any point in LA. There's plenty to pull from, plenty of talented actors to pull from. And if you're not a named talent, what we call an A-lister or somebody that's familiar, I'm not going to fly you out here for a film. And no, not when I got somebody right down the street next door that I can pull from and be like, hey, you want to be in a movie? Come on. So it's either poor casting or just too small of a talent pool that was what they were stuck with. And they just had to, their job as filmmakers is just to suspend your disbelief and make you fall for the story. But some of us are thrown by that because we're like, no, this contrast is way too over the top. But it was what they had at the time.
And that's a good way of looking at it. Thank you for sharing that. And, no knock to Tubi, because Tubi is, they're coming up. We talked about this before. The Tubi today is not your Tubi some years ago. Tubi is really coming up, and I'm loving the movies that I'm seeing. I even started a Facebook group, Tubi Flicks and Picks. Well, that's my shameless plug. Tubi Flicks and Picks with Carla. So check it out. But I love Tubi now. I really do. But
And you remember at the award show, he's a big producer out there, and him and his beautiful wife, Robbie Black. He was out there telling folks, and you're right, the Tubi movies have come up, but they're still complaining that there's a few elements out there. Y'all are still putting out crap. Come on, because LA is taking notice, and he's not lying. I'm here in LA. LA is taking notice, and part of the reason why LA is taking notice is because production is down here. The studios aren't doing what they used to do. So Rodney's telling them something to kind of help them along so that they can really benefit by creating better content, better writing, better production. We need to hear you. We need to see you. So that's a big thing. But Tubi's been coming up for a while. I left too early because if I had stayed, oh my God, I would be right there with my brothers and sisters filming and being excited about the process all the way.
Mm-hmm. But your time is coming. You said you're working on that. You got something in the works.
Yep.
Coming up, all in God's timing.
Yep.
Yes.
All in God's timing. So the script has, and I told you this before, the script has already gone through script coverage, another term, script coverage. What it is I contracted out a writer, a team of writers, basically, but it's just one writer who will go through the script and grade it. Your beats, if they can tell the distinct difference between if there's any errors, it's called script coverage, and it's a service that you pay for.
Okay.
At the time, mine was probably like $500, but it was well worth it.
That sounds like it.
Yeah, it saves you a ton because if you send it through script coverage, especially if the company is reputable, that's just tightening up your script even more. Mm-hmm. Certain things that people will say, I'll watch certain things. I'm like, when you write a script and you repeat the same thing, it's what we call show me, don't tell me. If you're telling me what's going on, that means you think I'm stupid as an audience member, and audiences automatically, unconsciously turn off. They'll stop because you didn't give people like puzzles.
Right.
Scripts like puzzles. Give them a good puzzle, they're locked from the beginning to the end. But if you take the puzzle piece, you ever take a puzzle piece and stick it in for somebody else, they are fighting mad. Think of it like that. Scripts are like good puzzles, and people like puzzles. So make a good puzzle.
Okay. I like that. That's good information out there for our people who are interested in that, filmmaker or writing a book, things like that. That's good information. So with Becoming Sidney, I'm going to play the trailer, but I just wanted to also say you have your actor that's in there. He is now, traveling as well, went back home. Was he someone that you have worked with before as well?
Yeah, I met Jaden in acting class over Zoom. And at the time, Jaden was living in Baltimore, Maryland. And we had been in class. He had finally come down for an in-person class throughout the acting studio we go through is Howard Fine Studios. And what ended up happening was I had watched it. He came down for a 4-day intensive that Howard was doing. I signed up for it. He said, hey, like most actors come here, can I sleep on your couch? I was like, no, but we'll get a hotel room closer. And because I was living in Carson, which is probably about 20, 30 minutes outside on a non-traffic day, And so I said, we'll just do that. Well, I could tell the minute that he finished class and I was getting ready to take him to the airport. I said, I told him, he'll tell you this. I told him, when are you coming? When are you moving? I see it in your eyes. You're trying to move here. And probably about a year later, the apartment across from mine, he was able to rent that here in LA. And that's actually how we met.
Wow.
Yeah. On Zoom in class.
Okay. Well, Howard Fine, that's the person. Do they still have acting classes like that?
Oh, yeah. Just to give you an update, Howard Fine's clients are Austin Butler, Will Smith, all A-list. So
how much would a class like that cost, Ken, ballpark figure?
Here's the thing, because it's in LA, things are not as expensive because actors can't afford a lot. So just to take his online class, I believe it's $300, $325, something like that. And that's a month.
Bad.
That's a month. So you get 4 classes and you're putting up work. Okay. But if you want to do it in person, it's pretty much the same. But one of the things that I always recommend that Howard he has what he calls his foundation class. That's going to be your biggest investment. So we're looking at about, I think, $1,000 to $1,200. but that's like 6 to 8 weeks, twice a
Okay.
week. It's literally a gym, an actor's gym. But
Nice.
regular classes, the going rate here in LA is $300. That's the average.
Okay. Well,
Yeah,
that's nice. That's good
he's one of
stuff
the best.
there.
Yeah, he's one of the best. So he's got A-list clients. Like I said, he prepared Austin Butler for Elvis.
Oh, wow. Okay.
He prepared
Okay.
Will Smith for Concussion. So
Okay. This is big time. This is
big
big
time,
time.
big time.
I love it.
You can find him on YouTube. You can find him through the studio. But yeah, that's who I've been training at Howard's for since I've been here, 2018. So we're going on, getting ready to celebrate 7 years.
Nice, nice. And another resource that you gave when we talked before, YouTube University.
YouTube University and Google State University. Anything. Listen, and I said that because, and I remember saying that I can't afford to go to film school, and film school ain't cheap. It's expensive. However, there are resources available to you on YouTube that will help you a great deal in your filmmaking journey and your script writing journey. You know, I use Film Courage. That's how I met my screenwriting coach.
Okay.
There are, what is it? Studio Binder. Studio Binder is the place to go for all things filmmaking.
Wow.
Just those two alone. Like I said, Film Courage is a podcast. Studio Binder, that's a whole nother level. But I promise you, you go through all of that, you'll know everything you need.
Wow, that's awesome. Thank
Yeah.
you for sharing those gems, dropping
Yeah.
gems. Yes. I love it. I love it. So I'm gonna play the trailer to Becoming Sidney, and I just love it. I just learned something just from the short time I saw it. And Becoming Sidney and Huey are both short films,
Yep.
right?
They're both short films.
Okay. And what is the why did you choose to do short films?
Short films are definitely, and we talked about this, if you're trying to shoot, short films are the best way to start. Short films have worked for me in building my catalog. Short films have worked for me as far as my writing ability. Short films have worked for me as far as to just building my name out there. They're the most inexpensive ways to do filmmaking, but in addition to that, they gotta be good, because they're very popular at film festivals. For me and my path, let me say that again, for me and my path, short films were the way for me to go before I jumped into the larger pool of feature films.
Okay. Well, I do agree. I do agree. Because you have to fit that into a short amount of time. You don't have a lot of time to develop that character for the fans to get to know that character and things like that.
Yeah, and just to give you a balance, Huey is 30 minutes. Becoming Sidney is 14 minutes or 15
Wow.
minutes, half the time. And for film festivals, it's easier to program 10 to 15-minute short films versus 20 to 30-minute short films. So I was getting rejections, and I think I told you this before. I submitted to 80 film festivals for Huey, 80.
Okay.
We only got into 11.
Wow.
That was
Okay.
a lot of money. Luckily, I was able to write off on my taxes. But I was always getting the same message, which is, it's a great film. It's just too difficult to program. You're going to be taking the spot of 2 other films, and we can't let you do that. Not when because we need more films to capture our audience. That was the only reason why Huey. They said it would have been better for you just go ahead and do a feature.
Wow.
So if you ever do a short film, remember this: 6 to 7 pages of the script, under 15 minutes. Just remember that for your short film: 6 to 7 pages for the script and under 15 minutes.
Wow. That's something, Ken. And you spent almost $30,000 or a little bit more on Huey and for 30 minutes. I can't imagine a feature film.
You know how much Sydney cost?
How much?
12.
Oh, wow. Oh, and you cut it in half. The film in half, but you saved more than half.
Exactly. And it's getting into more film festivals.
There you go. So you learned that. You wasn't saying, I'm going to keep it like I want it. I'm not going to listen.
And I did that. I told people, I said, oh, was Huey, I'm just going to die on the sword for this one. You know what Film Festival said? Go right ahead, brother. Die on the sword. That's why when you ask, that's why when you ask me like what's in your screenwriting, toolbox, being open.
Okay.
Being open.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, right. Here we go. Those are some gems. Let's see how it goes here. Hold on.
Excuse me. Can I help you?
Yeah, I'm here about the ad in the paper.
Oh, you're an actor?
Yes, I am.
Stop wasting people's time. It's clear that you don't know what you're doing.
Sid, it ain't nothing but a bunch of niggas trying to break into the white man's show business.
Just get out of here.
Never give them a reason to disqualify you. Listen to me. You're doing great, all right?
What's your name?
Sidney. Sidney Portier.
Awesome. I love that. I love it. Round of applause. That's awesome. And I know we're getting ready to wrap up. It is our time, but you did tell a story of Sidney and how was that a Jewish man helped him learn how to read because he didn't know how to read. That's awesome. Just a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's if you can actually Google or find it on YouTube. It's actually an interview that he did on Good Morning America in 1985. He also did it again in 2013, the year before he died. But he talks about that story. And what he says is, I came to New York. I didn't have any money whatsoever. He was only 18 years old. And he was a dishwasher. He said and what he would do daily is go through what we call the want ads back in the day, classified. Mm-hmm. And so he said he saw one section for dishwasher, but then he saw another for actors. And it was at the American Negro Theater, which is a very big theater at the time. This we're talking about 1947. I think it's 1947 or 1949, I believe it was 47. And so he went and did an audition. He showed up and he'd asked the man whose name was Frederick O'Neill, a big actor at the time. He said, so you're an actor? He said, yeah, of course I am. Just like he said in the story. He said, okay, well, here's a script. And Sidney talks about, I got the script. I didn't know what it was the first time seeing a script. He said he got on stage and he read like, where are, and Frederick went off. He lost it because he was an actor, a thespian. This is a theater, and told him, just go away. Just go back to being a dishwasher. And Sidney said he couldn't understand. It struck him really odd. But when he got back, that elderly Jewish man asked him, like, how did it go? And he's talking about, I can't tell you what's in it. He said, I can't, it didn't go well because of my accent. But he said, well, look in the paper. He said, I can't read very well. And that's when he said the man told him. And Sidney, Mr. Portier would never drop the man's name. So we gave him a name. So he said he would never, he said he didn't quite come at him stupidly, but he just said, hey, well, do you want me to read with you? And then Sidney, he got really emotional in that last interview where he's talking about every night for weeks, that man would stay and read with me and taught me how to read and got him ready to go back and audition again. And that's when he nailed the audition and got into the theater.
Wow.
Yeah.
Powerful. So good. So good.
Yeah. So it'll be, if you're in Detroit, it will be at the Detroit International Film Festival, July 19th and 20th. You can check out on my Instagram page because I always post it. Sidney actually has its own Instagram page as well. But also check out the Detroit Trinity International Film Festival. They're going to have the posting shortly as far as to what the screening time is going to be. And I will be there.
All right. Yes. Well, we wish you so well. And close us out with one quote that you're living by today.
It's going to be the same one, which is, hey, and it's my favorite Bible quote from Zechariah. Never despise small beginnings. Plain and simple.
That's it.
Never
That's
despise
it.
small beginnings. That's it.
That's it. I love it. You be humble, grateful from where
Yeah,
you are, and things will increase for sure.
they
So
sure
I
will.
thank you, Ken. You are always a pleasure. You are a natural coach. I told you that before. You
Yeah.
are a coach, but you call yourself the actor's
An
actor. What?
actor's director. An actor's director.
An actor's director. You
Yeah.
surely are. That's another word for coach. But yeah.
Mhm.
But I thank you so much. And we're rooting for Becoming Sidney.
Thank
And
you.
we see your handle on your banner there.
Mhm.
We'll be sure to follow you and keep up to date with all that you have going on. So
And
thank
just
you so much.
you're welcome. Just FYI, you know you're going to be because it's going to be submitted to the Detroit Filmmakers Awards for next year. So you know we'll be talking again. But I think this time you get to I think they're going to let you screen the films as well. You're going to be able to see them before you can actually talk about them.
Oh,
So that'll be
nice.
cool. I'll make sure you get a link.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again, Ken.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate you. Heart Nation, thanks for hanging out with us. And we'll talk with you all soon. Take care of yourselves and one another. Talk soon.